Boker Tov, good morning. Nice to start another day with a sense of connection to each other and to tradition and to so much. Just getting things set up so that our friends on Facebook are with us as well. Nice as always to see the notes from everyone, wishing each other Boker Tov, good to be together. Almost ready for us to begin. Yes, Boker Tov, everyone. Good morning and welcome to Boker Tov from Temple Sinai. Sinai streams daily, offering an opportunity for us together to connect, to reflect, and to remember. This morning, it being Monday, it is a day for Torah reading. And so today, as has become our custom here on our gathering, we take a little time to consider the weekly Torah portion. And this morning's parasha, which we'll be discussing further on Thursday as well, is Parashat Emor. As we make our way toward the latter parts of the book of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus. And while there are a number of things to focus on, the beginning of our parasha, the origin of a number of traditions having to do with mourning in our tradition and memorial and honoring those who are no longer here, in its discussion of restrictions for those who are part of the priestly caste back in the day. I really want to focus this week, probably today and Thursday, on chapter 23 of the book of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus, which is really the first calendar of the Jewish people. Nothing really expresses who we are and how we understand ourselves more than the rhythms of our calendar. The fact that in any given year, and in much shorter periods of time as well, our sense of focus, our lens on our world, our people, and the interactions between them is framed significantly by the calendar that we have for our people. Now, the biblical calendar of holidays, as we find here in the book of Leviticus, and it's significant, of course, that we find it in that particular book, but this particular calendar is certainly an ancient calendar. It's a reminder that Nisan, that last month, the month of Pesach, is in fact numerically the first month of the Jewish calendar. Because clearly in the biblical tradition, as we read through this chapter, which we'll do more on Thursday, the high holidays for the Jewish people, the days that really were the most significant were the Shalosh Regalim, the three pilgrimage holidays, the three times at which in ancient times our people made their way physically to the temple in Jerusalem. And so our calendar begins with Pesach, with Passover, and makes its way through the period we're in now, through the counting of the Omer, to the holiday of Shavuot, Chag HaBikurim, the holiday of the first fruits. And then after the summer, after really brief mentions of what we now call Rosh Hashanah, the name not found in our Torah, and Yom Kippurim, the Day of Atonement, which also receives brief treatment, discusses Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret as well. Our people in ancient times were engaged in agriculture and the rhythms of the land and the rhythms of the world in a physical sense, and the rhythms specifically of the land of Israel and its meteorological reality is what seems to have been at the core of our people's experience. We were in ancient times much more integrated into nature, part of the larger world around us. And so these holidays and the sacrifices associated with them were part of people acknowledging that the rhythm of their life was dictated by an agricultural calendar. And the holidays that we now call Yamim Noraim, the days of awe, the high holidays, clearly when we look at chapter 23, are not the emphasis. Like I said, we'll spend more time on that on Thursday. But when the calendar tells us about the Moedim, about the holidays, it does so with a particular introduction. I don't think I can go into the holidays today until I get to the beginning, because here at the beginning of chapter 23, as I've placed on your screen, it says, "Daber el bnei Yisrael v'amatar lehem moedei Adonai asher tikra'u otam nikra'ei kodesh elehem moedai." Here are my sacred occasions, expecting the holidays to come. And yet, different than all of the yearly holidays, the first thing that we see, of course, is Shabbat. 6 days shall you do work, over Yom HaShvi'i, Shabbat, Shabbaton, Mikra Kodesh. On the seventh day, a complete ceasing, a sacred calling, a sacred occasion. Kol malacha lo ta'asu. You shall do no malacha, no acts of forbidden work. Shabbat hi l'Adonai. It is Shabbat for the eternal in all of your settlements. I want to focus a little bit on the wording of that, because I think that there is a window into the nature of Shabbat that we get by this wording, by the fact that it says that, translated in English here, it shall be a Shabbat of the eternal, but it literally says Shabbat hi l'Adonai. Shabbat is belonging to God or for God. And what does that mean? I think there's a special message in it that offers us something crucial right now because of this wording and because it's in the book of Vayikra, the book that comes to be known in English as Leviticus, a book that is focused mostly on the priestly. Now, in ancient times, what does that mean? It means about korbanot. It means about sacrifices, physical acts that were created to bring the people and God together. But the word sacrifice in English, while not directly reflecting the root of the Hebrew korban, is entirely appropriate. That for our people in ancient times, at these times, to give, to celebrate in an enormous way was an investment, was a willingness to take what is ours and acknowledge, as many of these sacrifices did because they were dictated by Torah law, that what seems to be ours is not really ours. That all that we must have a sense of gratitude for. That we must be able to say, wow, the things in my life are blessings. It's not that my hands and my efforts gave me these things and other people don't have them, but rather the act of sacrificing in ancient times was an act that was an acknowledgement of owing, of gratitude, of dependence, where we so value, and sometimes I think in an illusory way, we value independence and say, I, you, we should just be able to stand on our own. The sacrifices say, no, dependence and interdependence is the reality of our world. And everything that we have that is precious, we need to recognize this in a symbolic, in a physical way, by showing that we don't completely own the things in our life. We certainly don't own the people in our life. And how does that bring us to Shabbat? How does that connect to these words? When it says Shabbat, belongs to the eternal God. What I think it's really saying is, well, if animals and grain and those things that we sustain ourselves with and feed ourselves with are significant, then what is our greatest possession? It's time. What we choose to do with our time, how we measure it, how we spend it, how we value it, how we hold on to it, how we share it with others. That is the greatest choice that we make day in and day out. And on Shabbat each week, why does the tradition tell us not only that there are some wonderful things that we have to proactively celebrate, but it says here are things that you can't do for a day, because it says this time belongs to the Holy One, not to us, because our time is not in our hands. But eventually Shabbat, the heartbeat of the Jewish people, the holiday so crucial that even though it's not part of a yearly calendar in this sort of a way, the Torah couldn't begin this discussion without talking about Shabbat. What is Shabbat really? It's a time sacrifice. It's our willingness to draw near to God, to the community, to each other, both by the way we use 1/7 of our time and by our acknowledgement through that day that all time is to be treasured, is to provoke in us a sense of gratitude and responsibility and opportunity. And that while we're busy making decisions about what to do with our physical selves and what to do with our possessions, we should never look away from the crucial importance of deciding what to do with our time. In a way, I think the beginning of this calendar really lays that out for us. It reminds us that every day on this day, this particular 10th of Iyar, this 4th day of the month of May, can we find a sense of gratitude for the time we're given? We talk about these strange times in which we live. And yet, even though our physical choices are so limited, we have so many choices of what to do, of how to express ourselves, of how to connect. And let's hold on to those. Let's show gratitude for each moment that we have by living it in a way that is significant, that is joyful, that brings goodness and blessing to others, and therefore to us and to our world. If there are people at this time that we need to doubly consider in the way that we consider and use our time, then I think truly it is the prayer for healing and strength. I have in mind in particular a member of our synagogue who I heard just last night is having surgery today, but in my thoughts are all those who are ill, all those who are facing difficulty, as well as all those who stand on guard for us on the front lines of our life, making the continuation of our day-to-day truly possible. And for all of them, for all of whom we might hold in our hearts at this moment, we turn to these words of refuah. Misheberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Leah v'Rachel hu yiraped kol makutenu yiratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu lahachalimam u'larapotam v'shlach lanu mehera refuah shlema v'ateret shalom v'nomar Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless and heal all who suffer. May it be the divine will to provide healing and strength. Reveal to us the holiness of life, the wholeness of shalom, and together we say, Amen. And now, having had this wonderful opportunity to connect and reflect, it's now time to remember. And so at this moment, we remember those in our circle of family and friends, those in our community who have died in the past 30 days, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. In these recent days and weeks, the past 30 days, we remember Lorne Barsky, Hannah Glatter, Ruth Kellman, Marcia Mason, Pauline Milrad, and all victims of terror and violence, including the victims of the mass shooting in Nova Scotia. It is our sad duty this morning to report the death of Oved Ben-Ari, husband of Valerie, father of Danielle, Joshua, and David. The funeral will take place today from Pardes Chaim Cemetery at the Temple Sinai section at 1 p.m. And on your site this day, on the 10th day of ER, we remember Edith Bader, Nathan Kaplan, Irene Clarfield, Jack Katzman, William Simon. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be an enduring blessing to us. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled as we turn together to words sanctified by memory, words glorified by hope in the Kaddish Yatom. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabba, be'alma divarach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala ubizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe Shmei Rabba Mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudisha b'richu, Ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehe Shlema Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim, Alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Peace to all who mourn, and bring comfort and strength to all who remember, and together we say, amen. Boker Tov to all. Make it a wonderful day. Look forward to being with you again here tomorrow, but beforehand, let's make this day a great one.